Here's an event I did last night, and here's the lighting for it using 5 par cans. I did a big write-up on this on Facebook. I'm going to read it to you and ad-lib here and there and add a few things as I go. But, what I'm doing when I turn the camera on, just so you know, is I'm trying to help. I'm not preaching the gospel according to BSR. I don't care what you do. If you like lasers, if you like moving heads, if you like something bigger production-wise than what I'm doing, that's cool. We all need to be different. If everyone was alike, it'd be very boring. We're all artists. And just like DJs, when it comes to playing music, everyone has their own style or should have their own style. Lighting, I believe, is the same way. We all express ourselves differently. And this is how I'm doing it. A lot of people wonder how I'm able to do lighting without things like tripods and gig bar style fixtures. Now that it's getting darker earlier, I can show you what a space can look like from the audience's perspective with just 5 pars before anyone shows up. 100% wireless and RF remote. Everything syncs up with no issues. Chases, fades, speed adjustment, music mode, 5-step dimming, and probably 20 plus built-in static colors. Last night, once all of the house lights were turned off, I actually had to dim the pars because the space was too bright. I do what I call Gruella Lighting, where I come into a new space, have a look around, and see what reflective surfaces may serve the space best. It takes practice, but in this pick, I felt like my first idea was good enough to just stop there. Sometimes I'm trying several different configs depending on the room, but it takes practice. Once you've done this several times, you're like, oh yeah, that's a good space, let's try that, and boom, there it was. I thought it looked pretty cool. Here I'm using walls, columns, and ceilings to reflect light pretty much everywhere. There are times when it's more challenging, like when the walls are dark or I'm up against a wall of uncovered windows. I can usually still make it happen, but when it's really challenging, the neon tubes with frosted lenses wash the space really well, and I don't blind anyone in the process. This is also a great thing to do when you're trying to light an outdoor space. So let's say that you are on the beach and there's nothing really around you to light anything up, and it's dark. What are you going to do? That's where things like the neon tubes come in handy. I just did a video recently where I put some of these tubes on my ProVent table magnetically. I actually took these little pieces of steel and used electrical tape to tape some magnetic contact points onto my ProVent table and just stuck them on there. And man, it really washes a space well. Here's a gig I did last week where the walls were dark red and there was a lot of glass. I couldn't figure out exactly how I wanted to configure it, so the tubes were a really good option. And I only used like 3 of them. 2 would have worked, but I used 3. They're frosted, so there's no direct light in anyone's eyes that's going to cause any discomfort. But anyway, some fundamentals I use are, if at all possible, there's no direct eye contact with the light source itself. Odd numbers of fixtures and groupings create focal point, so you'll never see 4 fixtures behind me. 1, 3, 5, etc. work best. And what I'm talking about here is if I hold up 4 fingers, typically you're kind of looking back and forth. There's 2 here, there's 2 here. But if I hold up 3 fingers, you typically look right in the middle. The middle, right in the middle. That's focal point. It's how it works. And that can be pictures on a wall or whatever. 2, or even numbers, you're looking back and forth. 3, you're looking right in the middle because it's framed by the 2 on either end. And that could be, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13, 15, etc. Rarely am I using every fixture I have with me. Less is almost always more and attracts the most attention. Last night I had 6 pars at my disposal. 5 pars was the way to go. If I would have tried to sandwich that 6 par in somewhere, I think it would have kind of screwed up the design. Wouldn't have been as cool. So I don't always use all the fixtures that I have with me. Rarely do I. Unless I just bring 3 with me, like with the tubes. Fine. But yeah, you don't have to use every fixture you have. Use what's most effective for the space. There's rarely a reason to light anything beyond the dance floor. If the whole room looks the same, there's no contrast to attract attention to it. However, if the dance floor looks different than the rest of the room, the ambience of that attracts people. Think about that for a minute. What in a room is going to be the focal point? If you want it to be the dance floor, highlight the dance floor as such with lighting instead of trying to make the whole room purple, pink, and chase. I think that's effective. There are a lot of folks out there that do things like sell numbers of fixtures. Oh, I can bring 20 fixtures, or I can bring 25 or 30 or whatever the case. And as I say here, what I never get hung up on or even try to sell are numbers of fixtures. Instead, I sell great lighting design. And it's true. It's not a matter of how many fixtures. It's a matter of, I'm going to set these fixtures up in a way that's going to be really effective and beautiful. I'm going to highlight architectural detail and points of interest. I'm not going to draw attention to things that are not interesting. And I'm going to focus on dance. And that doesn't take 25 fixtures. It just doesn't, in my opinion. I know this isn't for everyone. I'd mentioned that before. If you're using lasers or moving heads or whatever you're using and you like them, continue to use them. Again, I'm only trying to help here. I'm offering a suggestion. This isn't the gospel according to me. For me, though, it feels a lot more effective than anything else I had been using in the past. It's also much easier to physically set up, break down, takes up a much smaller footprint in my vehicle to haul, and weighs a whole lot less. There's 0 DMX programming involved that I have to worry about. Now, I'm using 8 products, but there are other products out there that you can step into for PARs, for instance, that use an RF remote that don't cost what 8 costs. In fact, I'll talk about this later in the video, but if you'd like to try what I'm doing and don't want to spend ape money on stuff, you can try things like Color Key. I mean, they've got some really cool RF stuff that works. You can try it if you like it and you want more of an ecosystem of things. You can go with Ape later, but you can just try that if you want to on a budget. I'm also getting a whole lot of unsolicited compliments that I wasn't getting with my other lighting on this stuff. People just dig it. So, with that being said, yeah, 5 PARs. This was my design. Let me go ahead and look at some of the comments, because I think some of this is going to be frequently asked questions. The first one that comes in is, so no other lighting on the dance floor? Nope, you don't need it. Because you can create the illusion of movement and strobe and fade and all kinds of stuff with the same 5 PARs. They serve multiple purposes. Uplighting, dance lighting, whatever. And for slow dances and fast dances, the same fixtures. Some people are talking about how they're still using their old school fixtures and they really like them. Again, do you, man. Whatever you dig, do it. It's not wrong. It's just different. I'm just sharing what I'm doing. So it's okay if you don't want to use this stuff, or you don't like this, or this isn't for you. We're still friends. Do you usually limit your uplighting to within a close proximity of your booth? I don't. And there's a couple of different reasons that I don't. Well, yeah, this is technically uplighting, but I'm using it as dance lighting. Sometimes when you're uplighting a space, you're doing perimeter lighting or something. And again, when I do that, I try to highlight focal points and I try not to draw attention to areas where there's nothing going on. But no, that obviously isn't close to the booth. And I'm not sure where he was going with this comment, but what I can tell you is this. I don't worry about theft. It would be pure paranoia on my part with the types of clientele that I attract. And as far as lights getting damaged in any way, you could run over these with a truck, this 8 Maxi 2.0 stuff I have, and I think it would probably be fine. As far as remote sensitivity, line of sight, I have used lights opposite of like a gymnasium sized room and been able to run them off of just the simple ape remote. In my case, it's ape remote, and it's like 100 feet line of sight is what it says, but it usually does a lot better than that. However, if there was ever an issue, like I was doing a church one time, an old church that was converted into a banquet facility, and there were some lights behind some obstacles that I was having a hard time controlling with the remote. What you can do is you can use the Ape Connect if you want to with the app. I've got one right here. It's this thing here. And it boosts the signal in a massive way. Something ridiculous. I don't even know how far it is. I thought it was like 5 football fields, but I think it's further than that. You're going to be able to control any light in any space with something like this, I think, without any issues, because the signal is so incredibly strong. It takes this and a tablet with the app. It's really easy to set up, and it works incredibly well. I just don't use it because I don't want to mess with the tablet. I don't want to mess with my phone. And the remote is just way too convenient, quite frankly. Why would I want to do anything else? And somebody asked me, how many Ape Maxi 2.0 do you have total? And have you ever done an event where you used all of them? I've got 6 Maxi 2.0s, but I've got 12 Ape Maxis because I've got a case of the 1.0s. I've used all of them before. When a client wanted a certain number of lights, or if I was doing lighting design for a friend who had sold the client a certain number of lights, because like I said, I don't sell that. Other people do. I don't. And what's cool about using the 1.0s is that they're updatable. And the 1.0s are updatable via this Connect in the app. All the new stuff, I think, from Ape is updatable without the Connect, where you can just Bluetooth update it. It's a new thing, which is pretty neat. So what that means is, although the Ape Maxi 1.0s act different than the 2.0s, with an update, they can work virtually the same. The colors are going to be incredibly similar. Maybe not as bright, but so similar, you're not going to be able to tell. Your guests aren't going to be able to tell. It's going to look like the same fixture. Again, one may be brighter than the other, but the colors are going to sync up and be the same, which is pretty cool. But I don't think you need more than 6 of these for the types of events that I do, which are primarily wedding receptions and such. I've done events like school dances where I've really tried to light the place up and make it really cool in a big gym or something. Yeah, there's all kinds of neat stuff you can do, but for most of the jobs that I do, you don't need a bunch of them. And the alternative are those sticks. If you don't have anything to wash a dance floor, to reflect surfaces off of, like a wall, ceiling, whatever, like we talked about, those are a great alternative. Someone's saying, useful info, thanks for sharing. I recently had a wedding with 6 uplights, and it looked fantastic. They had nice white drapes to cast the light onto. And yeah, drapes are a good thing to reflect light off of. These don't get hot, so you can use curtains, drapes. Nothing's going to catch on fire. That's the beautiful thing about LED. However, I use DMX with the Wolf Mix controller, and the dynamic light shows you can create on the fly really added to the vibe. I get that it requires more cost and time to an extent, though. Yeah, it does. And more thought. Here's kind of how I look at design. So I like cars, right? And this is my 65 Mustang, and it looks kind of like a 65 Mustang did in 1965. It doesn't have crazy stripes on it where I'm trying to create different lines. It doesn't have different wheels and tires on it. It doesn't have anything different on it that you can see. Because I think Ford did a great job with this. I am not an automobile designer. Ford does a much better job at it than I can do. When it comes to DMX, if you're a theater lighting designer, yeah, go for it. If you've got a vision in your head and you want to create this scene or group of scenes to create this effect, yeah, use DMX. But look, I am not a DMX programmer. And whatever is the internal mode on most lights is a better product than I could design myself. Could I take the time to learn how to be a lighting designer? Yeah, but you know what? I'm not really that interested in that when it comes to DMX. I'm interested in DJing. Lighting, to me, should be easy. Out of the box, just work and do what you ask it to do. And you shouldn't have to be real specific. To say intelligent lighting, actually, it's the opposite. It's not intelligent lighting. You have to be the intelligent one to tell it what to do. What I'm doing, I think, is the real intelligent lighting, where it does something cooler than I could ever even imagine creating myself. Just like automotive design. I'm not going to change this car. This car is fine as it is. Ford did a great job. I don't need to mess with it. And in my opinion, Ape did a great job with some of the simple things that these lights can do, like in music mode, for instance. It's cooler than what I could ever come up with. It seems simpler is better now, plus the photographers and videographers will thank you. You know what is cool about having pars that you can control really easily on the dance floor? With photographers, you can ask the photographer if there's a specific color they want for like a first dance. You can make the whole room that color. Instead of dots on them from a mirror ball or whatever, the photographer is getting like a cool amber or whatever their wedding colors happen to be, reflecting off of a white dress in the background, whatever. I can dim these lights. If they want them brighter, they can be brighter. If they want them dimmer, they can be dimmer. It's cool in that regard. You can work with photographers on this, and they really appreciate it too. It makes their job a lot easier. There are just a few of the comments and such that I wanted to share with you. There's more, but I don't know. Look, again, whatever you do, whatever you like, whatever you're into, continue to do it. Do you. We shouldn't all be doing the same thing. I don't feel like anybody's doing what I'm doing, though. I think it's interesting. Clients really seem to like it. It's effective. It takes no time to do. I just put these lights in places that make sense and run them. It takes practice. But once you kind of get the fundamentals straight in your head and get experimental, it can be a lot of fun. So anyway, just a quick video for you. I hope it helps somebody. We'll see you next time. Practice and enjoy.